Deep in the remote Siberian wilderness lies a secret, a mystery that has baffled the greatest scientific minds for over a century. The truth remains buried in ice. It was the morning of June 30th, 1908. The sky above the Podkamennaya Tunguska River suddenly split open. Fire descended upon the quiet northern forest. Witnesses reported a blinding flash of light, brighter than the sun. A deafening shockwave quickly followed. The impact was felt hundreds of miles away from the initial epicenter. People were thrown from their feet. Windows shattered in distant villages. A massive column of smoke rose into the atmosphere. The world had never seen anything like it. Over 80 million trees were instantly flattened across 800 square miles of dense taiga. The sheer scale of the destruction is still difficult to comprehend even today, yet there was no crater. Whatever hit the earth left absolutely no hole in the ground. This specific detail is what continues to puzzle modern researchers and historians. For nearly 2 decades, the site remained entirely unexplored. Russia was consumed by political turmoil. War and revolution kept scientists from investigating the remote site of the blast. Finally, in 1921, a mineralogist named Leonid Kulik grew fascinated by the stories. He believed a massive iron meteorite had crashed into the isolated Siberian forest. Securing funding from the newly formed Soviet government was a monumental challenge. Kulik convinced them that the iron from the meteorite could be salvaged for the national industry. His first expedition faced brutal conditions. Freezing temperatures and treacherous terrain threatened to end the mission early. Yet the determined scientist refused to turn back from his goal. When Kulik finally arrived at the location, he was utterly shocked. Millions of charred trees lay flat on the ground. They all pointed outward from a central point. At the center of the destruction, the trees remained perfectly upright. Their branches had been completely stripped away. They looked exactly like a forest of ghostly telegraph poles. Kulik searched desperately for a crater. He scoured the central swamp for any sign of a massive impact. He dug through the frozen mud, searching for metallic fragments. He found absolutely nothing. Not a single piece of meteoric iron was discovered in the area. The ground showed no evidence of a direct collision with the Earth. This lack of physical evidence baffled Kulik. How could such a massive explosion leave no debris behind? The expedition returned to civilization with far more questions than answers. In the decades that followed, theories began to multiply. Scientists proposed that a rocky asteroid had exploded violently in the atmosphere before it could ever strike the ground. This airburst theory explained the lack of a crater. The intense heat and pressure of an atmospheric explosion would vaporize the rocky body completely, leaving no large fragments. But an asteroid was not the only explanation offered. Other researchers suggested a comet made mostly of ice and dust was responsible for the incredible devastation that morning. A comet entering the atmosphere would disintegrate rapidly. Its icy composition would melt and evaporate instantly. This hypothesis neatly explained why no solid rock was ever recovered there. Night skies across Europe glowed strangely for several days after the event. People could read newspapers outside at midnight. Comet dust in the upper atmosphere could explain this. Despite these rational scientific theories, wilder speculations soon emerged. Some individuals proposed that a microscopic black hole had passed straight through the Earth, leaving a trail of destruction. Others imagined a piece of antimatter colliding with normal matter. Such an exotic event would release tremendous energy without leaving any heavy debris scattered across the impact zone. A few writers even suggested an alien spacecraft had detonated above the forest. While highly entertaining to the public, these ideas lacked genuine evidence to support their claims. To truly understand the explosion, we must look closely at the specific damage patterns. The fallen trees created a distinct butterfly shape covering the desolate Siberian landscape completely. This unusual shape strongly indicates that the object approached at a very shallow angle. It likely traveled low across the sky before finally failing under extreme atmospheric friction. Modern computer simulations confirm this precise scenario. Researchers calculate the blast yielded energy, roughly equivalent to 15 million tons of high explosives detonating simultaneously over the quiet forest. That is nearly 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. It remains the largest impact event on Earth in recorded human history forever. Had the object arrived just 4 hours later, the Earth would have rotated further. The explosion might have occurred directly over the highly populated Russian city of Petersburg. The loss of human life would have been unimaginable. A major cultural center would have been erased from existence within seconds. History itself would have been radically altered. Instead, the event occurred in one of the most sparsely populated regions on the planet. Only a few indigenous nomadic hunters were close enough to witness the tragedy. These local Evenki people believed the blast was a curse from an angry fire god. They avoided the cursed area for generations, fearing the wrath of the spirits. Their oral histories provide valuable clues. They described deafening thunder and terrible winds that knocked down their tents. Many animals perished in the sudden storm of intense heat. Scientific expeditions have continued throughout the 20th century. Advanced technology has allowed researchers to examine the soil and microscopic particles trapped within the local resin of surviving trees. Tiny spheres of melted rock and iron have been discovered embedded in the wood. These microscopic remnants strongly support the theory of a massive asteroid exploding under pressure. Yet some scientists remain skeptical. They point to a nearby lake called Checo. Its unusual conical shape has led to suggestions that it might be the missing crater. Lake Checo sits just 5 miles from the calculated epicenter. Recent acoustic surveys of the lake bottom reveal a dense object buried deep beneath the thick muddy sediment. Could this be a surviving fragment of the main body? A large chunk of rock that managed to reach the surface before the main explosion vaporized the rest. Critics quickly point out that local maps from before the event already showed a swamp in that exact location. The origins of the lake remain a heated debate. New expeditions are constantly organized to solve the enduring mystery. Teams of geologists and physicists routinely face the harsh taiga, hoping to uncover definitive proof of the impact. They bring ground-penetrating radar and sophisticated chemical analysis tools. They scan the forest floor for isotopic anomalies that would confirm an extraterrestrial origin beyond any reasonable doubt. The Tunguska event serves as a frightening reminder of our cosmic vulnerability. Space is filled with countless unseen rocks traveling at incredible speeds through the dark solar system. Even a relatively small asteroid can cause catastrophic damage locally. If a similar event happened today, the economic and human cost would be absolutely devastating to modern society. Governments around the world now invest heavily in sky surveillance. Telescopes constantly scan the heavens, searching for near-Earth objects that might pose a threat to our survival. Early detection is critical to preventing another unexpected atmospheric explosion. Scientists are developing theoretical methods to deflect incoming asteroids before they can reach our fragile pale blue dot. Yet the Siberian forest holds on to its ancient secrets tightly. The trees have slowly grown back, covering the scars of that violent morning over 100 years ago. Nature has remarkable power to heal itself over vast time. The shattered landscape is once again green and teeming, with diverse wildlife returning to the quiet, dense taiga. Only a few physical reminders of the devastation remain visible. Decomposing logs from the original blast still lie hidden beneath the thick moss of the remote northern wilderness. We may never know with absolute certainty what happened there. The lack of a definitive physical body leaves a tiny window open for alternative theories to continually flourish. But science relies on the most probable and logical explanation. An exploding asteroid perfectly accounts for the blast pattern, the seismic readings, and the microscopic particles found today. The meteor likely measured roughly 160 feet across. It weighed millions of tons and traveled at tremendous speed before hitting the thick resistance of atmosphere. The immense friction generated unimaginable temperatures along the rock surface. The internal pressure exceeded the structural limits, causing the entire mass to shatter violently into a fiery cloud. This thermal radiation flashed downward, incinerating the forest canopy instantly. Then the massive shockwave followed, flattening the burning trees and completely reshaping the entire ecosystem in pure chaos. It is a beautiful yet terrifying display of universal power. We are passengers on a rocky sphere navigating through an incredibly dangerous and dynamic environment filled with hazards. Tunguska will forever hold a unique place in scientific history. It challenged early assumptions about meteor impacts and forced humanity to gaze upward with newfound respect and fear. Perhaps one day definitive proof will finally emerge from Siberia. A massive chunk of iron might be pulled from the muddy depths of a nearby frozen marsh lake. Until then, the story relies on the fallen trees themselves. They stand as silent witnesses to the incredible devastation that literally shook the entire planet that summer morning. The wind still whispers through the branches of new growth. It carries the ghost of an explosion that changed our understanding of the vast, mysterious cosmos around us. We must continue to study the past to protect tomorrow. History has proven that the sky is not always a peaceful blanket of quiet and perfectly harmless stars. The mystery of Tunguska reminds us to look up carefully. The universe is incredibly vast, and we are merely trying to understand our tiny place within the dark. 100 years have passed since the sky tore open. The exact truth may remain hidden forever, but the search for answers will undoubtedly continue without any end.